Hey Derek, before we take off, you want to tell the world who you are and what you do at Lucid Motors?
Sure. So my name is Derek Jenkins. I'm the VP, actually Senior VP of Design here at Lucid Motors.
Oh, fantastic. You're the man behind the car. I love it.
All right, everybody. So Alex Cutler 247 here. We have Dana from SPAC Mania. We are very excited that Lucid, as well as Derek, has brought us out here to be able to test ride Lucid Air Grand Touring. So hope that you guys enjoy the ride and sit back and relax. We're going to ask some questions and get his insight onto what he likes the most about Lucid and the production and the design of it. So let's get going.
All set? All right. Clearly
Do a burnout?
a few non-electric cars around here as well. Listen to that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty sexy. You know, the reality is this car could burn most of the vehicles in here.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah, and that's quite a accolade.
Awfully noisy. So noisy. Don't scratch the Lucid.
Man, the moonroof is so sexy in here.
So slick.
So this car is a Renegade van driver. This car is a pre-production, so we're pretty mechanically, drivetrain-wise, pretty production representative. Fit and finish, still have some improvements to make. There'll be a lot more refinement coming out of the factory when we finally start delivering cars. But nevertheless, you get a full feeling of the car and the layout of the vehicle. User experience is also going through several updates, but this is a visually very production representative.
Nice. So obviously you and Peter work really close right now
Extremely close
with the design. For the last couple of months, obviously there's been a change and kind of a push up production a little bit later and a little bit of delay. What's the main issues, the main things that are being focused right now as the vehicle gets closer and closer to production?
Well, it's a range of things. So we're going through a lot of refinements and details and material, fit and finish, gap fittings, things like that. And so we're iterating on those final fit and finishes. Of course, there's a lot of software updating, refinement, bug fixes going on. Also trying to eke out every little bit of performance, every little bit of efficiency that's taking place. Ongoing testing and validation of brakes, steering, overall handling, noise, squeak and rattle, all of that stuff. So it's a convergence of all of these things taking place till we actually deliver cars.
Nice, gotcha. So this is actually Dana. You want to ask your question of what you were thinking about when it came to design? 1 second.
Yes, obviously this car is a marvel. It's one of a kind, and most curious as the man behind the design of this vehicle, what are your favorite attributes of this vehicle that make it different than the rest?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate, I think, to have had a chance to work on a lot of different cars with a lot of different car companies. But working at Lucid and being able to develop a car from the ground up, really literally from scratch, but not just a car, a brand, and be responsible for kind of that DNA, the look of the design, it's kind of, the whole project is really, something I'm proud of. But the design itself, I think I'm most proud of kind of the overall proportion and uniqueness of the car. I think that it's really indicative of where electric vehicles can go in the future. A very long cabin, short hood, short trunk, very sleek car. Trying to bring elegance into the vehicle was elegance, but simplicity at the same time. It's not always an easy thing to do, and so I think probably that proportion and that impact is my favorite part.
Yeah, well, and we see it in every aspect of the vehicle. It's just so meticulously detailed. It's fantastic.
Thank you. That's been a heck of a project.
From your history, you've obviously worked with many other automobile makers before. What is the biggest difference between working with them and working with Lucid now?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest difference is that starting from scratch mentality. You know, at Lucid, we really take the approach that this is like a pivotal chapter in the automotive history, I would say, and so having that clean sheet approach with a really strong focus on efficiency, of course, it leads to range, and then on top of that, performance in this kind of luxury space is something that I think is unique. You know, that was really a unique opportunity to do something different. The other side of it is also building a new team. You know, being able to have a fresh team with a lot of passion and hard work and do this all for the first time together is completely different than working at an existing company that's got processes in place and a certain way that they do everything, and oftentimes you're like, why are we doing it this way? Can't we try it this way? And you can't break through that. And I think here we've really created a new kind of working dynamic, and much of that is due to Peter Rawlinson's philosophy of everybody working in these close, tight teams, ultra collaborative, across all sorts of disciplines, whether it's the chassis team, the overall mechanical engineering team, the battery and drivetrain team, obviously the design team, the suspension team. It's an incredible collaborative environment that helps us get to this really distilled and refined product.
Very true. So you and Dana talked a little bit, and I was kind of listening, and one thing I really want to ask is, with starting from fresh, and we've looked at amazing cars during this auto show, from Ferraris to McLaren's brand new Volkswagens coming out, tons of prototypes. From you starting from scratch, this is basically you and the whole Lucid team kind of putting a thumbprint on a brand new design and an entrance to the electric world. Do you have any viewpoints on that, on kind of putting your thumbprint into the world?
Yeah, I do. I think that, you know, every era has innovations. If you look at the history of the automobile, every era has innovations and vehicles that come along and really define a period, you know. And I think the transition to electrification is really an opportunity for this era to define new aesthetics and new looks and new rules, really. And I really feel like Lucid's approach to vehicle development, vehicle design, is really dedicated to that cause. We're really trying to get the absolute most out of this new technology, and that reflects in the car, and I think that will put us in a position to really be a symbol of kind of this new period, you know. And I don't know if that's our thumbprint per se, but it's certainly our ambition.
Kind of like a footstep on the moon.
I do, you know.
This is the beginning.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this is a big moment for the auto industry, for the automobile, you know, this period we're in right now.
Absolutely.
Looking forward, are there any major design ambitions that you have with your vehicle line?
You know, I think it's really important that we're not just building the Lucid Air, we're building a brand, and it's really critical that brand identity translate. When we were developing Lucid Air and developing the DNA of the face of the vehicle and the proportion of the car, the surface language, the graphic language, the material language, you know, we were also thinking about, will this translate to a family of products?
Sure.
Will this translate to an SUV? Will this translate to perhaps a more affordable car in the future? Or perhaps something that's completely different altogether? And that was really important, because I think in order for us to have true long-term success, we need to build a range of vehicles, and they all need to be really, really true to kind of the Lucid ideals, you know, and that's going to be something that's going to evolve over time, and we'll build on it as we go.
Can you speak to any of the design hurdles you guys experienced from the very genesis of Lucid Motors?
Sure. You guys want a little quick acceleration burst
Absolutely.
here? Yeah,
Punch
let's
it.
do it.
Whoa! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I messed with the camera! Oh my gosh!
That was like a rocket.
That was not planned, guys.
Wow.
That's
Derek, this car is really slow.
oh my god.
It's got some pickup.
Yeah.
You're being nice right there. Some pickup.
I felt like we had a few
So,
G-forces.
You know, it's got a great initial burst, but what's really amazing is how it builds from the burst.
Yeah.
And it's really from that kind of 35, 40 miles an hour upward that you're really like, whoa, it just keeps coming at you.
I felt it on my chest and my body pushing back while going.
It's pretty remarkable in that regard.
That's insane, man.
What force.
Sorry, I didn't mean to knock the camera.
No, don't be sorry. That's an experience. Like,
A testament of the strength of the
Yes.
vehicle.
yeah, that was good stuff.
so with this is the Grand Touring edition. What's the amount of horsepower that's going on?
So this is around 800.
Wow.
And of course, Dream Edition, we're up above 1,000. So you know, there's a little bit more to come. Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and you know, this is with 3 people in the car. I just recently did a drive with 5 people in the car, and it's still just, there's just so much torque and power to throw down. You know, it's pretty remarkable.
Wow, the door handle is so cool.
Yeah, the trigger design.
Wow, so I just pull back on this.
Wow.
Oh man. And it's powered.
Yeah, it's power latch.
A power latched vehicle. I love that.
Battery design. A lot of people have seen B-roll and seen through it, but what is your, like, the battery technology is really going to be what's the difference between you, Mercedes, BMW, and Porsche in the luxury sector. Can you give a little bit more kind of a big description on why that's so important as an EV company?
Yeah, obviously, you know, every kilowatt hour counts, and how the efficiency we have around our pack, the packaging of the pack, even the streamlining of our manufacturing process is a big part of our strategy. We create all of our own battery modules in-house. It's completely proprietary. Of course, we have a cell partner, but even down to the battery management is all, you know, directed towards efficiency and compactness, getting as much energy density out of those packs as possible. Mm-hmm. In this case, the Lucid Air, the pack is contoured very carefully around the passengers, the footwell, center console, getting as much module space as possible. And I think that really lends itself to Lucid Air because we've really tailored the pack around the occupants, getting maximum energy density out of that pack design. And that's a big part of our range capability. In this case, with a 113 kilowatt pack in the Grand Touring, it's a big part of our efficiency story.
Can you speak to the charging of the vehicle? Not too many people know how to charge an EV. Show us what would be the experience of charging the Lucid Motor vehicle.
Yeah, so in our case, we have our charge port here on the driver's side of the vehicle. You can open that through the left touchscreen inside the car. Also, we have an additional prompt on the center console. You could open it through the vehicle app, and you plug it in. Now, we're operating off the Electrify America charging network, which will come with 3 years of free usage for anybody that buys a Lucid Air. That's obviously a rapidly growing network. We'll be able to take advantage of the full 900-volt charging capability, and it's going to be an incredible experience.
So there's iconic cars like Porsche that have iconic features, like their headlights. Looking at this beautiful car, what would be, in your mind, one of those iconic features that you think will kind of stand the test of time for the design of future Lucid vehicles?
Yeah, well, beyond the overall proportion of the vehicle, I think our light blades, front and rear, you know, this was very much a process in distilling the design down to the simplest possible elements and really refining this until it was just very clear, very elegant, and but yet still very bold and recognizable. We didn't want Lucid Air to look like any other product or vehicle on the road, and that was such an important part of it. And I think that will be something that, you know, hopefully ages well. You know, I'm always cautious with the term timeless, because, you know, everything eventually starts to look out of date. But you know, clean design and minimalist design usually ages the best.
Very, very much so. Exact same thing when it comes to Mercedes. Mercedes hasn't really changed over the last 20 to 25 years.
Absolutely.
But it's an iconic stamp.
Definitely.
And that's amazing.
What about the use of raw materials, just being mindful of the environment? Do you guys see yourself using like bamboo, for instance, or anything unique that would further set yourself apart with the design, but also speak to the brand itself, the
Sure.
California look and feel?
Yeah, sustainability is a big part of what we try to do. And we've taken that into consideration. A lot of the materials throughout the vehicle, you know, a good example of that would be our alpaca wool, for example. It's, you know, animal friendly, it's very sustainably raised, and we use that throughout the interior. It also gives you that mid-century modern design aesthetic that's so important. We have our eucalyptus wood, which is, again, very sustainable in the growth process. It grows fast, it's very sustainably farmed, and we bring that into the vehicle in a very efficient way. We have a low impact tanning process that we use around our leathers together with our supply partner, and it's one of the lowest impact, lowest toxic processes that is used in the industry. So we consider that throughout the vehicle, and as we look towards the future, we want to do that across the entire supply chain, really looking for ways to minimize the environmental impact of the development and manufacturing of our vehicles.
And I guess, you know, it's fair to say that that all started back to with the early genesis of coming up with Lucid, the brand being associated with using, you know, being mindful of its materials and carbon footprint.
Very much so. And I think, like I said, we're only at the beginning of that. I think we still have a lot of work to do going forward. But ultimately, I think our biggest contribution at this stage is the obsession with efficiency. You know, if we can go farther on a kilowatt hour than any other product on the road, that's a huge statement about using less energy to go farther. And I think that is one of the biggest contributions you can make as an electric vehicle manufacturer, is really efficiency in the product and still giving people an amazing driving experience at the same time.
Absolutely. I'm going to add on to it. So when it comes to efficiency, that's a big thing. You, Peter Rawlinson, many others have on the Lucid team have talked about this. Other companies, not so much. They're focusing on the design. They're focusing on just getting it out there and showing all this flashy things. But what I don't think people really understand is the fact that there are not that many charging stations out there. The network's still being built up.
Yes.
There's a reason why range is so important for not only the design of the vehicle, but overall the ability to actually travel. People think that when you have an electric vehicle, you can't travel on that.
Yeah.
You need to go and get your Prius, get something that has gas to be able to refill. But there's a reason why with Lucid, you could travel long ways.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. If you consider the fact that less than 3% of the automotive market is currently driving EVs.
Yeah.
Less than 3%. So that means there's a lot of hearts and minds that we still have to change. Mm-hmm. And from the Lucid point of view, the best way to do that is to overcome any fear or any doubt that a consumer may have about driving and owning an EV. And range capability, i.e. efficiency, is one of those big hurdles, you know. So Peter Rawlinson approaches this obsessively about gaining every possible opportunity to improve efficiency, whether that's through our battery technology, our motor inverter, our softwares, aerodynamics, weight, system efficiency throughout the entire electrical system of the vehicle. Every area you're trying to get every opportunity you can to optimize efficiency, improve range, even potentially use less batteries in the vehicle, but to go the same distance.
So I'm looking right now, I'm looking at the design. and you guys have specifically placed certain LiDAR sensors. Can you kind of highlight where you placed them just from the front and the side of
Yes,
the LiDAR,
absolutely.
LiDAR
So we only have one LiDAR. That's the center LiDAR here. We have radar on outside, middle, in both corners. And of course we have our forward-facing sensors. We have park camera down below, and then we have our camera set up in the upper header. That covers the front of the vehicle. We have additional cameras in the mirror, and of course camera in the B post, as well as rear view cameras.
Very nice. One last question, because obviously the world is going into electrification. They are transferring, and people are going to be like, why do I need to buy a Lucid when there's a Mercedes coming out, the Mercedes EQS, which was just unveiled. We're seeing the Audi e-tron coming out, and BMW has obviously made their hand come into the EV market, as well as the Porsche. What's the difference between you two? Like, telling the retail investors why should they invest into Lucid, and like what makes you guys so competitive for the future?
Yeah, it's really two reasons. The first reason, I believe, starting with a clean sheet, no legacy, no tradition, purely looking at the technology and creating the best possible EV vehicle as a result. I think that's very unique to Lucid. We have a real opportunity to be the best in all key metrics of electric vehicles, and that's range, and that's performance, that's efficiency, and I think that is a big one. That is the legacy companies are bringing electric vehicles, and I applaud that, but I think they also have a lot of other focuses with their existing lineup, and they're not solely dedicated to EV. I think that puts Lucid in a very unique position. The second point I'll mention is a shift that we see in the luxury consumer. We see the really forward-thinking early adopter consumers are very much focused on EV. They're interested in sustainability. In many ways, that is kind of the new status, where in the past, traditional luxury was more about opulence and fanciness to the vehicle. Now it's really about technology, experience, sustainability, all wrapped up in an amazing product with great performance, efficiency, design, and comfort. And I think Lucid will really represent that shift and be a symbol to where the new luxury consumers are going.
Absolutely. I kind of had one more question. I'm sorry.
They're coming up as we're talking.
I thought it was on the last one, but
we're on a roll.
So,
but man, hold on, that was a really good point you pointed out, Derek, because behaviorally, there has been a change of importance. What do consumers behaviorally value? And you're saying it's now anything that's innovative, that's mindful of the future, raw materials, the responsibility of driving a nice luxury vehicle.
Yeah, and just to back that point up, if you think of, just really break down why when someone can afford to buy a luxury vehicle, why do they buy a luxury vehicle? They want it to say something about them. They obviously want to reward themselves and have a great experience, but they also want it to reflect well on them. And in the past, that used to be showing off, or look what I have. And I think there's always a degree of that with buying a luxury product, but now I think it's also important that it says the right thing about you, that you care about sustainability. EV technology is a new, more approachable type of reward, if you will. And so I think that's really, really important. And by being a standalone EV-only brand born out of that pursuit is one of our biggest advantages.
You guys are redefining sophistication.
I like to think so.
Yeah.
That's great. I have one more question, but we can do it on the drive.
Okay.
Great answer.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. So, obviously, we've been talking a lot about the Lucid Air, all the additions and what about the Lucid Air. Can we talk a little bit about the Project Gravity?
Sure.
So, right now, you guys are going to be releasing the Lucid Air later this year, and people are kind of focusing on like Rivian coming out with their truck and their SUV. SUV is obviously very convenient, especially for the likes of moms. They need a little more space, athletic dads, people that work with their hands. What specifically of the Project Gravity have you guys been really focusing on and kind of try to extend your hand off of Lucid Air?
Yeah, so as we've gone through the early conceptual phase of that project, we've put a lot of focus on, what makes Lucid great to start with, and kind of building off of Lucid Air. And inevitably that comes back to efficiency, and really getting absolute optimized efficiency experience. The car has to have great range, and it has to have great performance, so you can be sure that we're building off of what we're establishing with Lucid Air. That's really, really important. On top of that, taking the space concept to the next level. Obviously the sedan offers certain opportunities to really show off the space capability and how we package and lay out the car. And you can be sure that the Gravity will then take that again to another level. And I think by doing so, again, finds a unique position in the marketplace, where you have a car that's reasonably sized on the outside, not too big, not too small, has incredible range through its efficiency, and of course incredible performance through its technology, and incredible space relative to its size and segment on the road.
Nice. And what would be the range of the Project Gravity estimated right now?
We're not really specifying that, okay. But you could probably, knowing that we're able to get above 500 miles with Lucid Air, you could probably do some guesstimations, of about where we could land. Of course, the car is going to be, will likely be heavier or slightly heavier than Lucid Air, and it would be difficult to achieve the level of aerodynamic efficiency that this car has, because this silhouette is so ideally suited. It has a low frontal area, and that all grows as you go up. Yeah. Nevertheless, our approach is going to be one that we're going to go. We fully intend to be a range champion for that class. Yeah,
I probably estimated in my head, because the additional amount of weight that you said, probably going to be around 390 to probably 420. I guesstimated. That's what my guess is.
That's a pretty solid guess.
So, thank you. I really appreciate you answering those questions.
When it comes to aerodynamics, we're looking at a moonroof here of glass.
Yes.
I can just tell you guys probably just didn't make this decision in one day. Can you speak to the roof of the vehicle? It looks like it's tinted.
Yeah, so it's a single piece of glass from the front cowl where the wipers are, all the way up to this B-post header over top. And we wanted to get this seamless look. I really like when we pull these down and you got that clean view that goes all the way through. It gives you this kind of airy, open feeling, and you can really see stuff passing through. It's a different feeling than normal glass roofs, and I think that is very unique to us, and it's something that it kind of highlights this kind of sleek elegance that the Lucid Air has, both from the outside of the vehicle as well as here inside the car.
I can only imagine what this experience is with the amount of space, because guys, this you can look straight up to the sky. What it's like with the Lucid Air Dream Edition with the reclining seats. Is that
the Dream Edition still also has the bench seat, so we will be launching with exec seats at a later date.
Well, once those executive seats are coming out, that's probably going to be
looking right through.
Oh my gosh. And that's actually upon itself. That's going to be addressing another sector of the automobile world. People need this for limousines, for traveling, for taxi services. I could see this being like a luxury Uber,
exactly.
You name it, and having the executive seats, that's going to be a high demand for comfort.
That's right, and those that also offers a lot of opportunity for other export markets like Asia, Middle East, and Europe, of course.
Well, and I think it's also important to note that we are not small guys, and we're sitting comfortably in here. I joked with you earlier, Derek, that an NBA player could comfortably sit back here, not crammed. You mentioned that you've actually had a few already.
We have. I'm not going to mention any names, but we have had some very, very tall gentlemen in both the front and back seat of this car.
Yeah, I'm 6'2", and I still have, I don't know, I can stick my feet out all the way, and it's in the air, and there's still more space. That's really impressive. And that definitely reflects what has been said from not only yourself and Peter Rawlinson upon the Lucid Air release, stating that we're all about space, and there's definitely a lot of it.
Yeah, and people don't expect it because the car from the outside looks so sleek and almost coupe-like, Yeah. And then they get inside and they're like, what the? It's like a magic box, It's a very, very unique experience.
Oh, it feels like a classic Lincoln or Cadillac with the space in here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, I think, you know, I think everybody likes more space, but oftentimes that usually means you got to go drive a really long, lumbering car, right? And here you have something that's agile, great for around the city, drives really sporty.
Very smooth, by the way.
And easy to park and get around in, and yet you have all this extra space, which I think is a win for anybody.
I think too, it's important to acknowledge the acoustics. This car is so silent. Even when we accelerated the vehicle, I mean, we were floating on air.
Yeah, the chassis team and our NVH team that specializes in helping to keep the car quiet. The car is very well insulated. The suspension is incredibly smooth and supple. It really is a very sublime driving experience, and everybody has the same reaction. They're just like blown away by how quiet and how smooth the car is.
Can you address, the origin of the name of the vehicles?
Of Air?
Air.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great.
Does it speak to the drivetrain or the experience?
You know what? This is one. Naming is a hard topic. It's really, we were gonna take the easy route and just go numerical.
Lucid number 1.
Yeah, Lucid 1, L1. That was the default name for a while, and then so we had the team brainstorming, and one of my brand designers actually came up and said, "What about Air?" And I'm like, Air, Lucid Air. And sorry, good, thank you. And I'm like, Lucid Air, and I'm like, okay, that's a great name, but there's no way in hell that it hasn't been trademarked for a car.
Yeah.
I'm like, because that's half the problem. You can come up with names all day. The second you start checking the trademarks, you're screwed. And lo and behold, no one had trademarked Air for cars.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, how is that even possible? And
meant to be.
Yeah, and also because a lot of our language around Lucid is elemental, if you know what I mean. It's like about basic elements or physics. That's how we ended up with gravity.
Oh, that's amazing.
And because he's just like air, gravity, it's like it all kind of relates, right? And and it stuck, and that became the name of the car. We almost debuted the car without a name. We just came up with that nick of time. What am I doing? Sorry. There we go.
Derek, one thing's for sure, you are a great spokesman and representative of Lucid.
Thanks, guys. You're too kind. I appreciate great thought in the questions.
Well, we definitely hope that we can continue this relationship in the future as you guys continue to grow and as you guys expand and actually continue.
Absolutely,
you guys. Are so generous with your time too.
Well, I appreciate it, and this is one of those things where it's just a step-by-step evolution to the company, and it's great when we connect with journalists and people that are really influential that get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It means a lot. It means we're on the right track. We take the feedback that you guys give and we share it with the teams. It's an important part of the process. It really is.
Yeah, I agree.
Count on us. We're your advocates.
I like it.
And we're back in the studio reflecting on our unthinkable experience and privileged opportunity to meet the Lucid Motors team and, of course, get up and close personal with the Lucid Air vehicle itself.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I want to say, number one, thank you to the Lucid team. Thank you to the marketing and communications team, as well as Derek Jenkins, the head of design, for answering a lot of the questions that we brought up. And it was quite an experience and once in a lifetime situation to be able to be up
privilege.
I mean,
how often is it that someone so influential like Derek takes their time out of their day to generously give us this thoughtful interview, and then of course a ride in the vehicle. It just was, they rolled out the red carpet for us. Couldn't be more grateful. And I came home so enthusiastic to share this story with everyone who was just excited.
It was very impressive the way that they had it all laid out. Number one, like you want to give a little bit of kind of a cover of how it was laid out overall?
Yeah, sure. So it was hosted at Amelia Island in Florida at the Ritz-Carlton Resort. There's an elaborate championship golf course there. I believe it was on the 18th hole where they had just a handful of all these collectible cars, exotic cars, all lined up. And then, of course, to no one's surprise, Lucid Motors just had the most elegant, centralized setup, this grand stage that was like the focal point of the whole event. You walk right in and you can't miss this thing. Everyone was gravitating towards it because it was the place to be. I mean, I love Porsche, but man, we walked right by that and right over to Lucid Air, where we were warmly greeted by their team. And I mean, the one takeaway I had from just engaging with everyone too, is I know you did, there's just a sense of contagious energy from that booth and the people. Everyone believes in what they're doing. There's just so much passion in the air. It really, created this level of excitement. And obviously it was just such a privilege to be there and to meet Derek and the team. But
well, to add on to it is the fact that people think that when they have this kind of setup, it's just going to be a bunch of marketing people and communications people. But I talked to a handful of engineers. They brought in people that were engineers to be able to give a little bit more of an insight of the way that the vehicle runs, the whole overall system. And they had more than just the vehicle itself. They had the chassis. They had it all opened up, like a skeleton of the chassis, the batteries, the rotary engine, and they also had the Formula E engine at that.
Really cool.
It was really nice, and it had the Ativa name on it. And funny thing is that the Porsche event right next to it had their Formula E race car right there as well. So it was nice to be able to connect them. But throughout the whole process is that with having those engineers there, they would actually answer the hard questions, the questions that some market people really wouldn't be able to answer. And you're at a car event, you're at an auto show. People are going to be coming up, and we saw Porsche coming over to talk to Lucid, saw McLaren, Ford, tons of people coming over talking to Lucid. So it was a great experience. But I want to say again, thank you to the whole team, and it was a great experience overall. But I think that you, because you're a big design guy, you and Derek kind of clicked overall, just seeing you guys talk about the overall design. And
geeked out so hard.
Yeah, it was amazing. Riding the vehicle, like if you guys obviously just experienced it with us, it drove so smoothly, and it was very quiet after we got out of Ritz-Carlton from all the supercars were just bolstering around them. But it was amazing. It really showed how special this company is going to be moving forward, especially with the vehicles and the amount of quality they're going to be developing as they pass by.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's funny. We were talking, we had said it several times in the car that, you feel like you're floating on clouds, but, driving down the street, you quickly understand why they called the vehicle the Lucid Air.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that floating cloud-like effortless acceleration feeling.
Yeah, the suspension was so smooth. Like any kind of bump that came up, it barely wiggled you. And the camera might have caught it a little bit, but like you in the passenger seat or even the driver's seat, like you never felt the bumps. Even when we accelerated very sharply, the only thing you felt was the force on your chest and nothing underneath you. So overall, the vehicle performed amazing across the whole board. And I wish that they had the executive edition vehicle there, so you could lean back and experience the whole window, because like that would have been amazing to be able to get that whole skylight. I don't know what to say, like window. That would be an experience upon itself. You know what I mean?
Well, so yeah, in the vehicle itself, there is this large glass plane that covers basically what felt like the entire ceiling of the vehicle. And, it feels almost like you're in the cockpit of a giant fighter jet, but it's even cooler than that. And even like the sunshade, flaps that come down to protect, the driver and passenger seat, their eyes, was like floating in empty space. It's just another brilliant detail that Derek and his team elegantly designed. But going back to the performance of the vehicle, you're absolutely right. Everything about the vehicle in general exceeded my expectations in every regard. The car itself was so smooth. I mean, it's something you could fall asleep in the back seat, wake up in a different place, and not even know that you moved. You know, not to mention the acoustics of the vehicle are perfect. You hear nothing. You know, you don't hear the impact of the wheels on the road or nothing. Everything is like you're in a sealed chamber, you know, which is not easy to, you know, perfect. I've got a few German auto luxury cars myself, and you know, I hear every little bump in the road, you know, driving down the streets of Seattle. That was not the case with this vehicle. And, you know,
The space.
You had to remind yourself, oh my God, the vehicle's on. You know, here we're at a stop position, it's dead quiet, and then we take off. You don't even feel it. You know, it's remarkable engineering in every facet. So
there was a couple of times where even the vehicle was turned on when it was on the event stage itself, and I sat in and I'm like, I'm looking at the screen, I'm looking at the module on the right, and I'm like, I'll ask the engineer, I'm like, is this on? Is this just is this it? He's like, no, it's on. And he started manipulating it. I'm like, wait, what? And I just made sure, checked underneath, you know, you don't want another Nikola situation. I looked underneath, there's no charging cables, nothing plugged in. The vehicle was on. That whole experience, it was turned on, and it was so quiet, and it was a great experience overall. But the space, oh my God, the space.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, dude. We were joking. I mean, there's probably a handful of comments that maybe we have to trim the video just because it was just, it's amazing how spacious the vehicle, but the interior itself is so beautifully designed, very sporty yet elegant, with, you know, fine details everywhere you look. It's the perfect balance of like materials too. Everything is just so intentionally detailed, from like the stitching to the LED display, that almost appears as if it too is like floating off the console. You know, it spans across the whole front, has this cool, unique organic edge to it. It's got so many sexy lines in this vehicle. I mean, gosh, I that's where I was just like, you know, had my mind blown. I was looking at every little nuance, and it's just so meticulously done with great intention. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The most spacious sedan I think I've ever been in, right?
Yeah, well, the way that Derek has said, and as well as Peter has said in the past, is the way that their battery is set up, and the way that they don't need to make it so bulky, like many other companies, even companies that are still doing it now, is that they need a larger battery in order to have the capacity to handle the load of the vehicle itself, as well as hit the range that they are trying to have. Because there's a huge demand on, if you're going to have an EV vehicle, it has to be above 300 miles. If it doesn't hit that, you're really not going to have that purchase. So having that efficiency with such a small battery pack, and that allows you to have the space at your will. Like, you can manipulate the way that the interior is in any shape and form that they want. I think that overall they used it correctly, because people want space. People want you to be able to spread your feet down, be able to get comfortable. And kind of jokingly, they have had a lot of tall people roll into that vehicle and had a lot of space, like 6'5" people, and they had no complaints overall. So I think that they did a great job overall by utilizing the space that they had with the efficiency of their batteries that allowed that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to, like, you know, Lincoln Continentals and old Cadillacs from 20 years ago that were, you know, it was like a living room. There's just so much space. And so you have almost that same feeling in a Lucid Air. That's like, how is there this much space in a sedan? And the answer lies in, like, literally the sleek design and the utilization of space that we talked about, you know, and even like the comfort level. You know, a vintage Cadillac has these big plush cushions that, you know, make it so comfortable. Whereas, like, Lucid has found a way to design things for comfort. You know, their seats, they conform to the contours of your body without having to, you know, have all this space taken up. And every panel is so sleek with its intention of not taking up any more space than it has to. You know, it's as if their focus is, you know, how can we do the minimalist approach without compromising this elegance and beauty and function? And
so it's well balanced.
Yeah.
It's well balanced. And look, there's a lot of things that to take away from the video that everyone just watched. What I want to say is that Lucid is not copying anyone in any kind of right. They're not following Mercedes. They're not following Porsche. They're not following Tesla. If you look at the way that it's interior, they are the ones that are placing their thumbprint into the world with this kind of design. Porsche had their design. Mercedes had their design. This is Lucid's design. And I know that as they continue to evolve, certain aspects of this vehicle will continue to move forward with future designs. So when people want to know why they delayed, there's a lot of aspects to it, from the semiconductor shortage to just overall, they just need to make sure that they're doing it perfectly. I asked that question, what with the current delays and the pushing back Peter Rawlinson has talked about. I want to know what are certain aspects of the vehicle that they're trying to update and try to perfect. And it's understandable overall, because you cannot screw up and you only get one chance to make a first impression. And I said this before, I'm going to say it again. If you have that bad first impression, no one's going to come and buy your vehicle ever again. And they're not going to care if it's a certain upgrade. They're going to go to the Mercedes. They're going to go to the Porsche. And they're just... No,
you're absolutely right. You get the one chance to capture that impression. And for me, I got the impression that Derek and his team literally saw an opportunity to redesign every general component of a vehicle. Mm-hmm. For instance, I was geeking out on just the door handle. Yeah, sure. They could have put in your traditional handle that, you pulled it open and designed it in a way that had a nice finish and shape. But of course they didn't do that. They looked at it, hey, how can we do this better? And so what's so unique about the Lucid Air is it has like a bolt-like function.
A trigger.
Yeah, and it's just so subtly designed. So it's not in your face. It's cleverly right over the edge of the door handle itself. And you just pull back effortlessly, and it's just like such a familiar motion, and even too on the door handles of the exterior of the vehicle, they're like non-existent. They conform to the side panel of the vehicle, and then one touch they prop up with just this internal hinge. It looks like a component off of like a stealth fighter plane, just so beautifully designed. And it's like, we don't need to show the door handles. They provide this function. And again, it just speaks to just their ability to look at something and devise a new way of doing it. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the future
all day about the interior.
Yeah, but the whole experience was great, and we can go on and on with the whole experience. The vehicle performed fantastic. If you watch the video, if you're watching it so far, you understand that the acceleration is substantial. The vehicle performs amazingly. So I want to say again, thank you to the whole Lucid team. I'm very excited to test ride an actual fully like mass-produced vehicle, as well as the Project Gravity. I'm excited to see that in the future, to be able to test ride that pre-production, and just to see this company grow as a whole. So if you're a shareholder, I'm going to say this is that you should be very excited. And if you're not, you should probably do a little bit more research into it, because they were the focal point of the event, and every single other company came over and talked to them. And it was not just because they're electric car, it was because of the product itself. So,
oh yeah, dude,
it's something to be special.
If you're a skeptic, which you're an outlier amongst many, this car will turn you into a believer, hands down. And just to end too on the performance, 800 horsepower. Not too many people know what that feels like. And the thing too is you'd expect well, maybe you wouldn't know what to expect, but it's this unparalleled force that just like effortlessly takes off in just a beeline. There's no, it's so stable. I've never experienced anything like that. There's no gear change. It's just like being in a, controlled rocket. Mm-hmm. It was so exhilarating.
It was a heck of experience. And the acceleration, like I read an article and they said that the acceleration was inconsistent. I don't know where they got that in any shape or form.
We can say from personal experience that it was not.
No. It was no shakiness.
It was a funny moment too. Tell them, with our cameras.
Well, they just watched it. Like you saw from the get-go, Like not just the acceleration, but like there was no jerkiness to it. There's a smoothness to it. When you turn on the vehicle, there's an instantaneous acceleration. It's not just a slow acceleration. There was just acceleration. And if you try to punch it, it's an instantaneous torque to the tire, and you're instantaneously pushed back, and you feel the pressure on your chest. You feel the pressure on your head. You feel it. And you saw that happen to the camera itself. So the vehicle performed amazingly. So I don't know where that came from. Obviously, everyone has their own belief, but the vehicle did amazing. And
we're confident too. Just get behind the wheel of this when you have the opportunity. See for yourself. I have all the confidence in the world. You'll be converted.
Yeah. If there's a lot of people on Twitter, and there's people across the whole internet that you're gonna be naysayers, I understand. But I have test rode Teslas, I have test rode Porsches, I've test rode BMWs, Audis, you name it. And the thing is that everyone has their own way of performing. And when it comes to EVs, Lucid is doing their own. They're the league of their own. They're doing their own thing. But just understand, everyone can grow and can be successful in their own way, and Lucid will do that. And at the end of it all, when people think that they're just going to go back to zero and they're going to fail, I'm going to say this: there's no way in God's green earth the public investment fund is going to allow that to fall, because this team has grown substantially. They have a great mission, a great goal for this team to grow and be the thumbprint of luxury EVs. And it's reflected by the event, and it's reflected on the vehicle.
Well, and too, going back to the vehicle itself, it seems, it's almost a family car, if you ask me. There's so much space in this vehicle. One thing that took both of us by surprise at the very end, we had to see the frunk, or the front
trunk. Yeah.
And to my surprise, it's this huge, deep cavity with tons of space. Now, I'm a Costco guy. Anytime I go to Costco, with the intention of buying one or two things, I end up buying a ton. You could do a whole Costco trip and put it all in the front of this vehicle, and load up the back trunk with several sets of golf clubs. Something else that's really important to me. I was really impressed with the amount of storage, and then of course just the comfort. This is a family vehicle in every regard, if you ask me.
I'll also add to this is that there's a lot of capabilities for this vehicle, for the design itself. Not just the luxury home, the luxury family car, but it can also be utilized once the executive edition is starting to push out for like Uber Black, a lot of taxi services. I can see this being utilized in Japan in many ways, because as a corporate vehicle. If you're going to have a corporate vehicle, that's the one that you want, the one with the executive, and utilize that space even more so, where your executives, your chairman, your VIPs can sit back and relax and just enjoy the ride and look up into the sky and just fall asleep, or just go into a haze of comfort.
Well, we both left that experience just enthusiastic about what's next with Lucid. When can we see the Gravity? Because I'm expecting, the moon with that. It's going to be an exciting family of vehicles that we'll see from them. If this is what they're bringing to market, the bar is set. We are familiar with, what's most important, their value set, and expect greatness. That's all I can say. Expect greatness.
I agree. And at the end of it all is shareholders be excited. Skeptics, you might need to eat your words, but overall, it was a heck of an experience. And both me and Dana want to say thank you again to the Lucid team. We very much are excited to be able to see you grow as a whole, as well as continue to cover you in the future. So I want to say, both of us know, I want to say thank you so much to the whole team for having us out. It's a once in a lifetime situation to be able to be a retail investor upon itself, and be kind of a voice for the retail investors, to kind of be able to have that first kind of look into the Lucid Air itself. So thank you for inviting me.
Experience with our audience, which I know they value. And I couldn't be a bigger advocate of the team, the vision. And, it was just so exciting to see everyone's enthusiasm for the roadmap forward. So
definitely, it was contagious.
Thank you, Lucid Motors. We love you.
Thank you, Lucid Motors, and thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to comment below, leave a like. And again, this is not the only company. We're going to definitely do a lot more interviews in the future. So let us know what you want, and we'll try to make it happen. All right. So thank you guys.